Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. I and my partner, Miss Janice Lebeste, are going to present the introduction to modern penology. Penology is the study of prison administration and rehabilitation. As a branch of the social science of criminology, penology tackles the theory and practice of societies and how they strive to prevent criminal behavior and impose the proper penalty for it. It focuses on how criminals should be handled and can be rehabilitated in order to no longer pose a threat to society. This research covers a wide range of prison-related issues, including inmate rights, inmate maltreatment, and recidivism, as well as views regarding the objectives of punishment, including rehabilitation, retaliation, and deterrence. Development of prison. Early punishment in the form of execution was so barbaric or extreme. This included offenders being thrown to prisons with the wild animals, or stake out in the sun with eyelids propped, open stone, disemboweled, dismembered, flogged, and even crucified. The School of Penology. Classical School. This school of thought was advocated by Dr. Cesare Beccaria, who maintained the doctrine of psychological hedonism, that an individual calculates pleasure and pain in concordance to his actions and regulations. His conduct is the result of his calculations. It means that a person who commits a crime knows already what the possible consequences is. The doctrine of school of thought is the doctrine of free will. In classical schools, hedonism says people always choose safe pleasure and avoid pain. Free will meaning we have our own choices. We can decide what we want. In the commission of the crime, they have calculation and balance before commit the crime. Positive school of thought. Dr. Cesare Lombroso, known as the father of modern criminology, the positive school of thought opposed the doctrine of free will. Lombroso believes that the individual who commits a crime should not be punished according to the crime committed by the opposition of the said penalty should be meted out it into the soundness of the offender at the time that the offense was committed. According to Lombroso, the person who committed a crime should not be punished. Instead, they must be treated as a sick person who did not know what is right or what is wrong. In positive school of thought, Dr. Cesare Lombroso said that crime and criminality are normal in our society. Criminals and offenders, they are not in normal mind condition, so should be treated by rehabilitation and reformation program. Neoclassical school. This approach to penology arose at the time of the French Revolution and the period immediately thereafter. It maintains that while the classical school doctrine in general is correct, it should be modified in certain details. It urged that since children and lunatic person cannot calculate pleasure and pain, hence they should not be regarded as criminals and as such should not be punished. The reaction to crime, therefore, under the school is no longer punitive. Punishment is imposed on some lawbreakers but not on others. By implication, individual responsibility is taken into account. Subsequently, it would be necessary for the administrators of justice to consider the psychological and sociology of crime. In neoclassical school, they modified certain details. From the word children, this pertains to juvenile. And lunatic, ito yung sinasabi nilang kulang sa pag-iisip. This pertains to juvenile. And the agency who operated this is DSWD here in the Philippines. Some juvenile delinquency or juvenile person. Theories of punishment. Deterrent. According to this notion, punishing offenders with variety of punishments will dissuade future offenders from committing crimes in order to deter others from committing such crimes. This approach also aims to instill the terror in their minds. The severity of the penalty serves as a warning to other people. Hardened offenders cannot be deterred because the punishments scarcely affects them at all. This is evident from the fact that many criminals win themselves back in jail. They would rather live in prison than lead a regular life. This theory's intent is to terrify evildoers and warn everyone else who could be persuaded to. In this theory, we have two classification of deterrence. One is general deterrence, focus giving fear in public, while specific deterrence, giving fear from the offender to do not repeat the crime he or she committed. Deterrence means to give him fear. Retributive theory. Retributive theory means punitive to recompensate, to pay back. Retribution is by way of punishment. This theory says that the wrongdoer should be punished should be given the same punishment as that will be suffered by the victim, or a tooth for a tooth and an eye for an eye. This means retributive theory, a legal punishment that requires the offender to receive a punishment for a crime proportional and similar to its crime committed. Receive suffering that matches the severity of the crime he or she committed. Expiation theory. Expiation means compensation. And according to this theory, compensation is paid to the victim of the wrongdoer. Society recognizes the right of the victim. The criminal is punished economically. This means criminal is punished by awarding such compensation and is prevented from doing such offenses. Protective or preventive theory. This theory says that all criminals should be punished, should be in prison, and keep them away from the normal society without any connection to it. Thus, the society will be protected from the criminals. This theory feels that protecting the society from criminals is better than curing the minds of the criminals. Protective theory or preventive seeks to prevent further crimes being committed, which, which is done through disabling the criminal, mostly through imprisonment. Reformative theory. This theory uses social, economic, physical, and psychological methods in bringing about change in the minds of the criminals. Crime is linked to the prevalent physical or emotional condition of the criminal as well as the society's environment and circumstances. Reformative. The aim of the punishment is to transform the culprit through individualization approach to help the criminal see in why their behavior was wrong so that their mindset changes for the better. Goals of punishment. Four majors are Four major goals are usually attributed to the sentencing process: retribution, rehabilitation, deterrence, and incapacitation. Retribution refers to just desert. People who break the law deserve to be punished. The other three goals are utilitarian, emphasizing methods to protect the public. Utilitarian means focuses on rehabilitation and deterrence. The goal is to use punishment to benefit society. For instance, if jail time is used as punishment for a particular crime to discourage other people from performing it, criminal justice in Philippines. The five pillars of system must work in concert with each other with checks and balances between them in order to best serve the public. Criticism of the Filipino legal system often centers around issues of disconnect. The five pillars represent many different facets of the legal system and society. 1. Law enforcement. This includes the Philippines Constabulary, the National Police Commission, and National Bureau of Investigation. 2. Prosecution, including the National Prosecution Service and Judge Advocate Services. The courts, including all levels from the regional to the Supreme Court. Correction, including the prison, parole, and probation systems. Community, including local governments and the Department of Social Welfare and Development. What is the difference between correction and penology? Other term of correction is penitentiary, coined by John Howard, while the penology, the other term is penal science, coined by Francis Levier, from Latin word pena, which means pain, suffering, or punishment. In Greek word, this is poene, or penalty, or imprisonment or fine, done in correction. In correction is the fourth pillar of criminal justice system here in Philippines, considered as weakest link due to cannot prevent crime or failure to rehabilitate. And correction is concerned with the study, supervision, and rehabilitation of criminals or criminal offender. While penology is a branch of criminology and etiology of crime, sociology of law, which is study of punishment for crime or criminal offenders, management and treatment offenders. The difference between correctional administration and penal management. Correctional administration focuses on study and practice of the systematic management of jails and prison and other institutions charged with rehabilitation of criminal offenders, while penal management, practice of managing or controlling places of confinement in jails and prisons. Historical development of criminal law. Samarian Code, Working of Ornamu. Code of Hammurabi, Lex Taliones, or the Law of Talion. Samarian Code is 100 years older than Code of Hammurabi. A Samarian Code is not considered unwritten, considered unwritten, while Code of Hammurabi is a knife for a knife, or a tooth for a tooth. This is the first codifier of law, it's the oldest with savage punishment. The Hittites. The great importance of morality or capital punishment was used for many offenses, except for homicide or robbery. Mosaic law or law of Moses, extreme punishment such as flogging or burning the guilty persons alive. Here in Philippines, Quran, homicide, theft, and adultery. The Greek Code of Draco, ultimately severity or extreme cruelty, harsh code that provides the same punishment for both citizen and the slave as it incorporates. Law of Solon, repealed. Code of Draco, except homicide, applied equality to all citizens. The law of punishment had to maintain proportionality to the crimes committed. 12 Tables or Justinian Code, foundational laws in Rome, drafted by Tribunvirus. The Lex Salica, restitution, compensation for wrongdoings, or Virgils. This is the value of monetary payment. Here in Philippines, Maragtas Code, 1250 after death, Dato Sumakbal of Panay, the Greek country or the Greek people. Thieves and robbers were punished by mutilating of their fingers. Four were prohibited to bear or have a child more than two. In Kalanchaw Code, 1433 after death, Dato Kalanchaw is the oldest code having sexual relations with a married woman and those who offend religious objects. Early prison, Mamertine Prison, built under the main sewer of Rome. A dungeon. Dungeon is a room or cell which prisoners are held. Listings. First Republic, first public prison in Europe. Bridewell Workhouse, London, built for employment and housing of English prisoners, vagrants, prostitutes, beggars, and beggars. Hospicio de San Michel, first home for delinquent boys, forerunner of juvenile reformatories, built by Pope Clement XI in Rome for housing incurable youth under 20 years of age. In USA, Walnut Street Jail Detention Jail in Philadelphia, it was converted into a state prison and became the first American penitentiary. The Turabel prison system, the Auburn system in New York, and congregate system work. They worked in complete silence was enforced, while in Pennsylvania system in Europe, solitary system and 24/7 complete silence was also enforced. They are also required to read Bible. Sing Sing Correctional Facility. The famous Sing Sing Bat is located Elmira Reformatory, the health forerunner of modern penology, and youth age 16 to 30 years old who were first time offender put in Sibulun Brockway. Sibulun Brockway is a father of prison reform in the USA. Borstal Institution. Sir Evelyn Ruggles Bryce, or Delinquent Boys, Best Reform Institution for Young Offenders. Modern Prison. Alcatraz Prison or The Rack, located in San Francisco Bay. This is a close, high maintenance tourist destination by James Bennett. The first, the first person died in Alcatraz is Robert Stroud. Sunshine House Prison. A gas chamber. 100,000 of people was executed, mostly are Jews. Auschwitz Prison. Poland completed 2 million deaths and 2 million innocent. Tausling Prison, most notorious prison in Cambodia. It looks like mountain size, while a human skull and bones. The historical perspective on correction. In 30th century, criminals could avoid punishment by claiming refuge in the church for a period of 40 days, securing sanctuary. Benefit of clergy. Church people, bishop or chaplain. Ecclesiastical church. In 16th century, transportation of criminal in England was authorized using galleys, long narrow single-deck ship propelled by sails, usually rowed by criminals, used for transportation of criminals. In 18th to 19th century, hulks, old hulks, floating hell, an abandoned warship converted into prison in order to ease the congestion in prison in England, in so-called the prison shop. An age of enlightened humanism or reason. In 18th century, people have rational thinking. In golden age of penology, in 1870 to 1880. 1870, the National Prison Association. In 1876, parole started at Elmira Reformatory. In 1878, Massachusetts adopted the first state use of probation. A prison reformer, William Penn, wrote the concept of humanitarian treatment of offender, that all prisoners were to be bailable. Prison were to be free as to fish food and lodging, abolishing the death penalty. Elizabeth Fry, an angel of prison, first reformer for women prisoners, better treatment for women and children in London. Sir Robert Fell, who regular visits to prisoners by chaplains. Frederick Auguste de Metz, of the Metz of France, established agricultural colony for delinquent boys. The system was based on re-education rather than force. Manuel Montesinos appointed the prisoner a petty officer in charge. Academic classes of 1 hour. They are given to inmates under 20 years of age. Charles Montesquieu. Charles Louis, seconded Baron de Montesquieu, believed that harsh punishment would undermine morality and that appealing the moral sentiments as a better means of preventing crime. In Voltaire, Francois Marie Arouet, he believed that fear of shame would undermine the morality of offender and a good tool in deterrence of crime. He also fought the legalization of use of torture. Jeremy Bentham, the greatest father of prison reformer, to John Howard, devoted his life and fortune to prison reform. Point Penitentiary, root word penitence or penitence, feeling of deep sadness to commit a wrong act, panopticon prison, to allow an observer to observe. Punishment. It is the redress that the state takes against the offending member of the society that usually involve pain and suffering. Kinds of punishment. Corporal punishment or pain is a form of physical punishment that involves infliction of pain as a purpose of discipline in reforming the wrongdoer. Capital punishment, death, as a form of punishment that is most serious of all penalties, which involve the loss of life and infliction of death. Penalty, defined as the suffering inflicted by the state against an offending member of the transgression of law. Early concept of punishment. Retribution, a personal vengeance. Expiation, a common group of vengeance. Deterrence, serve as warning. In general, for future violator. Specific, incapacitation by putting the offender in prison. Society is protected from his further depredation. Second, reformation, changes of behavior for health and them to reintegrate back in the community. Juridical condition of penalty. Personal, imposed only to person who committed the crime. No substitute. By legal or judicial, penalty imposed by the proper authority and by virtue of a judgment prescribed by the law. Commensurate. Penalty is proportional to the gravity, seriousness of the crime, and equal, applied to all who committed the crime. Certain, definite. Penalty is specific and exact. Correctional, rehabilitate or reforms the attitude of another. Theories justifying penalties. Prevention. The state punishes criminal to prevent or suppress the danger to the state and to the public arising from the criminal acts of the offender. Self-defense. As a measure of self-defense to protect the society from the threat and wrong inflicted by the criminal. reformation, to help him reform and or to be rehabilitated, exemplarity, to serve as an example to others from committing crimes, justice, as an act to or as an act of retributive justice, a vindication of absolute right and moral law violated by the criminal. Ancient punishment. In this slide shows that capital punishment or death. I stated their uh, example, pero example of executions. Garrote, the Aring Collar improvised chair. Competed by Dr. Ignacio Guillotin, using gallows to upright position, beheading, decapitation, using sword to honorable death, using rope, unhonorable death. This is done by hanging, drawing or quartering offenders are tied horses. Pinapahila ito sa kabayo, napakasakit. Breaking wheel, catering wheel. Also the firing squad using musketry or fusillading. An electric chair, an organ malfunction, discovered, invented by Thomas Alva Edison. Willie Francis, who survived an electric execution, while William Kemmler, the murderer in USA, the first person successfully executed in 1890. While here in Philippines, Mr. Leo Echegaray, the first and last executed by lethal injection through his case as rape. Republic Act 8177, imposition of death penalty through lethal injection. So si Mr. Leo Echegaray ang unang dito naging naparusahan. Republic Act 9346, the prohibition, sodium thiopental, deep sleep, pancuronium bromide, paralyze the muscle, and the last is potassium chloride to stop the heartbeat. While on corporal punishment pain, flagellation, flogging, in Latin, flagellum, or whipping. An act methodically hitting using rods, branding, human branding, stigmatizing, burning of skin, metal symbol, ornament, stamp. While on social degradation, or public humiliation, shame, pillory, crowd to spit, offender, 3 holes, or stacks, 4 holes, stunning, lapidation or public humiliation, tossing of heavy rocks until the offenders dies, banishment and exile, another slide of transportation of criminals, and early forms of prison discipline, hard labor, productive work, deprivation of anything, monotony, perform boring daily routine, uniformity, we treat the like prisoners alike. So the act of all, or the fault of the fault of one is the fault of all. So The difference between jail and prison. Jail is from the word Spanish jaula o caula. In French gaol or jail. While in prison, from the Greco-Roman presidio means cage. Lock-up jail tends to police station, temporary confinement held for investigation. An ordinary jail, an offender has sentence less than 3 years. On workhouse jails or camp houses, minimum custody offender serving short sentence provides full employment. Convicted minor offense or serving short sentence are 3 years below, while in prison, major offense long sentence more than 3 years imprisonment. Republic Act 6975, Section 60, effect on January 2, 1991. The BJP was created. And Section 23, thus PMP, Section 53 of PMP, Section 60 of PPSC. Republic Act 9263 professionalized the organization. And Republic Act 9592, 5 years supplementary period, minimum educational qualification. So the personnel who join have 72 units only are required to finish their educational qualification. In prison, Act 1407, Bureau of Prisons on November 1, 1905, and Executive Order 292, it becomes a Bureau of Correction in 1987. Republic Act 10575, Bucor Act of 2013, professionalized, signed by President Benigno Aquino on May 24, 2013. BJP administrative and operational jurisdiction, supervision and control, municipal jail, 1 day to 6 months imprisonment, while in prison, Bucor administering 7 correction facilities: San Ramon Prison Penal Farm, Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm, Correctional Institute in Women, Davao Penal Colony, National Bilibid Prison, Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm, Leyte Regional Farm. And continue to jail. City jails, sentence 1 day to 3 years. District jail, 1 day to 3 years. As connected to BJMP Manual of 2015, coming from a clustered city or municipalities waiting for undergoing trial and serving sentence. Provincial jail, 6 months to 3 years, provincial under the provincial government. The categories of inmates: sentenced prisoner and detention prisoner. Classification of detainees: awaiting or undergoing final judgment or undergoing investigation or trial of anything. Classification of prisoners: insular, more than 3 years; provincial, 6 months to 3 years; city, 1 day to 3 years; municipal, 1 month to 6 months. The classification of rank between the two: Chief BJMP rank as director, while in Bucor, Director General rank, who appointed the Undersecretary. The first jail director is Charles Mondihar. The first jail director is Charles Mondihar. While in prison, is Director George Wolf in 1905. So that's all, ma'am and classmates. We hope that you like our presentation. Thank you.